On tonight's edition of the Overtime, the Flagstaff Eagles dropped a home game last week to Bradshaw Mountain. Can they turn things around this week as they head out on the road? NAU football is now 1-3 after losing to Eastern Washington. Is it time to hit the panic button for the Jacks? And as the NBA gets ready to tip off their season, the Phoenix Suns are back in town for training camp. We look at this year's team, all that and more coming up next on this edition of the Overtime. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for another edition of the Overtime, Northern Arizona's only local sports show. I'm your host, Jason Friedman, and joining me in studio tonight is our sports reporter, Lauren Hunt. Lauren, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
All right, well, let's get right into things, and we are going to start over at Flagstaff High, where the Lady Eagles volleyball team is off to a scorching hot start, winning eight straight matches to open up their season. Lauren, you were out at the game earlier this week. Is this team for real?
Yeah, I was there, and volleyball's in full swing over at Flag High. The Lady Eagles are currently ranked number 3 in the Grand Canyon Division and have high hopes to move up with the ranks as they continue dominating the court. Junior Lydia Miller is leading the team in kills this season with 144, and following shortly behind her is Tara Brain with 76 in only her sophomore season. After speaking with Coach Hagelin, it is evident that Brain is a true leader on the court and brings much more than just her skill, but an upbeat attitude that runs throughout their entire team. Throughout their season, not only have kills been a strong point for the girls, but so have aces, with an astounding 66 cumulatively during their first 8 matches. Senior Emma Rodgers leads the team with 16 of the 66. Flag High is looking to continue their streak of success throughout the remainder of the season, especially on Tuesday during their match against local rival Coconino High School.
Well, for the Eagles volleyball team, getting off to a great start is nothing new. Even back when I was a high school student in Phoenix, I always remember the Eagles being one of the toughest matchups for our volleyball team. Coach Beth Hagelin has done a great job building this program to the point where they have become a contender year in and year out. If you're a volleyball fan in Flagstaff and you haven't had a chance to watch this team, I suggest you get out there as soon as possible to check these girls out because they are a great team to watch. Now, sticking with Flagstaff High, the Eagles football team has found themselves in a familiar position after losing last week at home to Bradshaw Mountain. Can this team bounce back after taking a tough loss at home?
Well, high school football is in the home stretch, and Flagstaff High is looking towards snagging a spot in the AIA Division 4A playoffs. In a tough loss last Friday night in a region game against the Bradshaw Mountain Bears 20-7, starting running back Gavin Randall was held to only 53 yards, contributing to a difficult night offensively. Senior quarterback Christian Singleton hit 9 of 15 passing for 96 yards, but was sacked 3 times. In order to improve, the Eagles are going to need to step up their O-line's game in an effort to make a postseason run. I think these guys have it in them. They just need to dig deep and finish the season strong.
Well, like I said, with this loss, the Eagles are in a familiar position, as last year they also started with a 3-2 record through their first 5 games. But last year they went on to lose their next 2 games, which put an end to the team's playoff hopes. How this team comes out in the first quarter this week is really going to determine how the rest of the season goes for the Eagles. If they come out unfocused and sloppy, it's going to put an end to their playoff hopes before the season even reaches the 6-game mark. But if they come out ready to play and play the type of football that we have seen this team is capable of, then I think this team can ride that momentum through the end of the season and straight into the playoffs. Now, staying on the gridiron, the NAU Lumberjacks lost a tough one to Eastern Washington last week in their conference opener at home. Lauren, this team had a ton of preseason hype around them, but after a 1-3 start, is it time for Coach Sauer and the Lumberjacks to hit the panic button?
Well, NAU football heads to Northern Colorado this weekend after losing a tough game to Eastern Washington 50-35 last Saturday. The loss came as a surprise after 2014 and 2015 back-to-back wins against EWU. Eastern Washington's offense did a good job controlling the clock and defensively held number 8 Emmanuel Butler from scoring. Sophomore quarterback Case Cookus left the game during the second half to nurse an injury to his shoulder. There's no word yet as to if he will be back on the field on Saturday's away game against the Bears or not, but I still have high hopes for this team. The offense has been there this season, but this defense is going to have to step up to get this team back on track.
Well, you never want to see a highly touted team like the Lumberjacks where stumble out to a 1-3 start, but I don't think it's time to hit the panic button quite yet. Watching this team, the talent is all there. Emmanuel Butler and Elijah Marks have been fantastic at the receiver position, and running back Kendall Taylor has made the most out of his position switch after he moved from receiver to running back. But like you said, Lauren, Case Cookus left that game last week with a shoulder injury, and let's hope it's not too serious because despite the poor record, he has been nothing short of amazing this season. He's averaging close to 300 yards a game with 13 touchdowns to just 1 interception. With that kind of quarter play, it is tough to imagine this team with a losing record for much longer. This week is a perfect chance for the Jacks to bounce back and get back on track as they take on a Northern Colorado team that they dropped 63 points on last season. Well, Lauren, every year the Phoenix Suns venture up the mountain for training camp here in Flagstaff, and this past week they have been getting ready for the season here on NAU's campus. What can we expect from this year's Suns team, Lauren?
Well, this week, the Phoenix Suns headed north and returned to Flagstaff for training camp. This season, under the direction of new head coach Earl Watson, the team is excited for what some are looking at as a fresh start. Watson's transition to head coach began in February when he was selected as interim head coach, and since then he has decided to surround himself with seasoned NBA coaching veterans Jay Triano and Tyrone Corbin, who he can look to for guidance. With the reintroduction of Jared Dudley and Leandro Barbosa and the strong leadership presence of Devin Booker, despite his young age, the Suns are hoping to perform much different this season than last.
Lauren, you mentioned some of the team's veterans that they brought in over the summer, like Leandro Barbosa and Jared Dudley, but this team is still built around a young, exciting core, and at the center of that core are 2 top 10 draft picks in Croatian forward Dragan Bender and the University of Washington product Marquise Christ. Bender stands at 7'1", and he is so athletic that the Sun staff thinks that he can handle the small forward position at that height. And if he can, that leaves the Suns with a long-term front court that features another 7-footer in center Alex Len. And then when you add 6'10" power forward Marquise Christ to the picture with his insane athleticism, that gives the Suns one of the tallest, most athletic front lines in the league. Now, I have a ton of faith in new coach Earl Watson, and I think that he will get the most out of these young players. And if he can, the rest of the NBA better look out, because when you combine that kind of young talent with the veteran presence that this team has brought in over the offseason, this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with.